Horror is one of the most iconic genres of movie that there is. People love watching these things to spook themselves out.
Come play with us, Daddy.
The movie industry has gotten so good at creating nightmare-inducing visuals that are so realistic you'd think that these terrifying things actually existed. That's not always the case, though. Sometimes, movies try to go for scary, but they don't quite hit the mark. On many occasions, when a horror movie doesn't quite hit the nail on the head, it can wind up being pretty darn hilarious.
Planning on stealing something?
No, ma'am, we're not.
Plan on murdering me in my sleep?
What? No!
There's this specific anomaly of movie where they set out to film a horror movie and it ended up so terribly cringe-inducing that it turns out chock full of unintentional laughs. That, my friends, is my favorite genre of movie. Don't get it mixed up. I'm not talking about comedic horror movies.
What's up? What's up?
That's a whole genre of its own, where there are certainly movies that perfectly tiptoe the balance between humor and horror.
I think I almost just pissed my pants.
You did piss your pants.
What?
Notable titles that come to mind are Evil Dead, Cabin in the Woods, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil.
Oh, it's some pancakes. You hate pancakes. I'm gonna make you something else.
And my personal favorite, Freddy vs. Jason. What a classic. For a scary movie, that's one of the funniest pieces of film that has ever been made. Even the Final Destination films are pretty comical in the way things develop and are so glaringly obvious. All in all, these types of movies are fun and they're great, but that isn't what we're talking about here. Those titles are all justifiably funny on purpose. We're talking about the ones that were aiming in another direction entirely.
Party hardy, Harry.
These are the films that shot for scary and missed the mark. These are the ones that wanted to showcase some elements of the paranormal or the supernatural.
Don't let them eat, Joshua. For the love of God, don't let them eat.
But just flat out failed at doing so, and instead made something ironically hilarious. It's that coveted, so bad it's good category that typically doesn't do so well at the box office, but over time develops into a cult classic. And whether it's a poor concept, a bad script with awful dialogue,
They're eating her! And then they're going to eat me!
or even just horrible special effects, there's a number of factors that can go awry. Luckily for us, there's a few real gems out there. For example, let's talk about the movie Troll 2.
The Goblins.
What's fascinating about it is that it isn't really a sequel to the movie Troll. They're two completely separate, unrelated films. On top of that, the movie Troll 2 doesn't even feature a single troll in the entire movie.
A goblin?
The Goblins.
It was literally just clickbait in movie form.
I bet it was a goblin in disguise.
The film is 94 minutes of basically nothing.
She is very appetizing.
It revolves around these weird goblins who want to turn humans into fresh, healthy vegetables so that they can be consumed. I mean, kudos to the monsters for just wanting to live a healthier lifestyle. That's not exactly the kind of premise that's gonna throw audiences into feverish nightmare fits. The whole thing is actually so insane that it's impossible to truly grasp what the filmmakers were trying to go for. The same could be said for Birdemic, Shock and Terror.
Hi.
A romantic horror about two lovers whose small town gets attacked by, birds. It was inspired by Alfred Hitchcock's film The Birds, but it didn't quite live up to its predecessor. It's one of the most notoriously poorly made movies of all time, yet there was somehow a sequel 3 years later. I can only assume that the follow-up was worse. Or better, depending how you look at it. I mean, everything about this movie is just perfectly terrible.
Oh, this is my girlfriend, Natalie.
Hi, Natalie. Nice to meet you.
Yes.
From the stiff acting to the horrible sound and editing,
Hi, Gloria.
to the plot that makes absolutely zero sense, And most importantly, the special effects that consist entirely of poorly rendered CGI eagles and vultures that move around unrealistically and explode in unrealistic bursts of smoke. It's also worth mentioning that we don't even see a single bird in the movie Birdemic until nearly halfway through the darn thing. Ugh, the whole thing it's just a masterpiece.
And that's how I met Annie, and now she's my lovely wife.
In the absolute worst kind of way. You could not make a movie this bad if you tried. I love it.
God, the birds are attacking everyone in the theater.
Speaking of birds, another cringeworthy classic is 2009's Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving break!
See what they did there? Did you catch that play on words? The name alone is enough foreshadowing to know how good this movie is. It's about a Thanksgiving turkey that comes to life because, I don't know, it's cursed? And it plans on taking out a bunch of innocent students? What's with these movies trying to use animals that aren't even the least bit scary to try and scare people?
Dog had an accident.
What the hell? What kind of accident?
At least Sharknado used sharks. And don't even try to leave a comment saying that Sharknado was cheesy on purpose. They only caught wind of that after the first one and then they leaned into it. The original Sharknado was supposed to be a horror movie and ended up so bad that they made a whole franchise of horror comedies. While Sharknado had sharks falling from the sky, 1988's Killer Clowns from Outer Space had, clowns. The movie is full of these little creatures with painted faces trying to feed off unsuspecting humans, but it completely misses the mark. There's a slew of terrifying clown-oriented movies out there, including It and Poltergeist, but this is absolutely not one of them. It is, however, one of the rare times that clowns are actually funny. Killer Clowns might not even be the worst thing that comes from outer space. 1959's Plan 9 from Outer Space, which features zombies, aliens, vampires, and pretty much every attempt at a scary monster that you can imagine, might just be the worst movie ever made. As you can imagine, it makes absolutely zero sense, and not a single ounce of it is the least bit scary. It's so bad. While Plan 9 from Outer Space features a bevy of different creatures and monsters, it didn't feature the one scariest being of them all, the dentist. Thankfully, 1996's The Dentist totally went there. I mean, it's a smart premise. Nobody likes going to the dentist, and certain people are actually legit terrified of it, so why not make a scary movie about it? The thing actually has potential as a premise until you watch it.
What did you do? He's bleeding!
Dr. Alan Feinstone discovers that his wife is having an affair with the pool boy, so he starts doing weird stuff with his patients. Very early on, do things like plot or coherency fly completely out of the window, but it's fun to see what kind of kooky things Dr. Feinstone does with his poor patients. It's not so scary, but I bet it did make some people's fear of the dentist even worse. It's always kinda silly when a horror movie tries to take a pretty regular person and make them scary. Like, it's a pretty obscure one, but has anyone ever seen 1972's The Thing with Two Heads? It's just like two dudes in a suit. It's so clearly two grown men just standing very close to one another in an oversized shirt and blazer, but we're led to believe that it's actually some scary two-headed creature. What made matters much worse is that the two heads were meant to be a commentary on racism in our society. You see, the head of a racist old white man was planted onto the body of a black guy fresh out of jail. There's just so much about this premise that I could talk about, but I really don't want to. The same could be said for 1994's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, which somehow manages to deliver a groan-worthy attempt at a horror movie, despite being part of a reputable and likable franchise. It doesn't even feature anyone getting chainsawed. Plus, they took a terrifying villain in Leatherface and made him a complete laughingstock. The whole thing was a Texas Chainsaw Massacre in of itself. Well, I think you get the picture. While doing the research for this video, I came across a film called The Manitou about a baby growing inside of a tumor that turns out to be an old Native American shaman out for revenge against the white man. So, I gotta go watch that now. Drop a comment in the section below with your favorite cringy horror film. Before you go, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe to ScreenRant to stay up to date on all of our latest releases. Until next time,
it was nice seeing you all again.
Bye,